Welcome to Mac Video Magic Live. Yes, I'm back after a long time away, relatively speaking in YouTube terms. But I'm back, and we're going to be talking more about how to make great video using the built-in apps that come with your Mac, iMovie, Keynote, and in this video or live stream, we're going to be talking about GarageBand, another free application that comes with the Mac. And I'm going to show you how to bring your iMovie projects into GarageBand, which is a free digital audio workstation, again, that comes bundled with every Mac, at least at the time of this stream, to help you create more professional sounding audio. Now, you may be asking, Mike, what do I need GarageBand for? Doesn't iMovie have its own audio tools for fixing and enhancing audio? Yes, it does. It has a bunch of tools. And I did a video, my last video, going through all the different audio tools in iMovie to show you how they work. They work okay some of the time. They're very limited, and they're not terribly effective in a lot of cases. So if you want to do more serious audio work with your iMovie projects, then you should be looking at GarageBand, and that's what we're going to be doing in this live stream. But before we jump into all that, let's say hello to folks in the chat. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Yes, you need that? Yes. Actually, a lot of people, it's a topic using using GarageBand to fix your iMovie audio has been a topic that people have been asking me about a lot over the last few months. And it's something I've finally got to getting into. And the reason I'm doing it as a live stream first is because I anticipate that you're going to have a lot of questions as I'm going through it. So I figured might as well do it as a live, take the questions as they come while we're in the moment. So that's what we're going to be doing. Just taking a look. Yes, I am. It's been a while since I've live streamed, so I'm getting all the technical stuff squared away. So I'm just making sure that I actually am live, and yes, I am. Everything looks okay. All right. Some more hellos coming through here. Oh, all the way from Dublin, Ireland. Wow. Thank you for being here. It's like, what time is it in Dublin? What is it, like 4 p.m.? Am I correct? Around there? I think you're around 5 hours ahead of me. I'm in Toronto, Canada. New York time zone, I guess, is probably the easiest reference. Thank you very much for being here, Tony. And so I'm just going to wait for just a few, maybe more people to drop in before I jump into the tutorial. Now, of course, I've got the DVR feature on, so if you need to go back and look at stuff, you can kind of rewind through the stream and check stuff out, which is a handy feature to have in live streams. Who else is in here? Oh, I see some familiar faces. Kevin, Lakeland, Florida. Thanks for being here. Kenneth, all the way from LA. Thank you so much. You just had an earthquake a few days ago, right? I saw. Crazy. But thanks for being here, Kenneth. Who else is here? From Japan? Wow. Excellent. Thank you so much for being here. And I've been using other paid and free sources, and most times has its flaws, and why not using what Mac brings you included in its bundle? I finally got an M3, nice, M3 MacBook Pro 14-inch and love it. Yeah, great machines. Yeah, exactly. That's sort of been the thinking behind my channel, Mac Video Magic, is if you're gonna invest the money in a Mac that's gonna last you at least 5 years or more. Why, if you don't have to spend more money on applications to make video? Now, I'm not saying don't think of things like Final Cut Pro. I use Final Cut Pro, but I honestly don't use it as much as I used to. I actually use iMovie quite a bit. Actually, I did a project a few months ago and it was for a client. And I used iMovie. It was a graduation video for a dance school. And so I was taking a bunch of photos over the years of the kids, a graduating class of kids who were graduating from the dance school. So I was taking a whole bunch of photos of all these different kids and students. And plus I went out and actually shot with my video camera. I actually went to the school and shot like documentary style interviews and B-roll and the whole rigmarole like I used to do back in the day when I worked in broadcasting. And I brought that all back and put it all together in iMovie, including the music, did all the editing, everything. I don't even think, I maybe stepped out to use Keynote for a couple of graphics, but for the most part, I used iMovie. And it was just, I remember why I like it so much. It's just so simple. And it kind of gets out of your way, and you can concentrate on the content. Now, yes, it lacks features, pro features, but honestly, if you're making YouTube videos, or in this case, I was making a video for an like a crowded auditorium. It was like a theater, actually, with a big screen. iMovie was fine. It was fine. Anyway, that's why, getting back to your point about getting a new MacBook Pro and saying, hey, why don't I just use the stuff that's there? Sure, use the stuff that's there until you grow out of it. That's my thinking. Let's see. Back to the comments. Yes. Yeah, big time. Oh, San Francisco. Hey, thanks for being here. Hey, glad you're back. Hey, thank you. Glad to be back. Glad to be back. High pressure hunting. I have learned a ton from you over the past few years. Oh, excellent. I'm glad people, if you're learning something, then that means I'm providing value, which is important to me. Dubai. I learned a lot from you on the Keynote iMovie integration. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Keynote is a secret weapon, and I'm going to show you another secret weapon, which is GarageBand, in a moment. Yes, Keynote plus iMovie, all you need. Crazy. Did you see, I don't know if you saw my video, I think it's not the last one, but the one before, where I just did a project and I used Keynote and iMovie, and I created that sort of cinematic trailer video. And I did it with Keynote and iMovie. And that was it. And I was actually surprised at how well that turned out. It was very cool. So really what it's about is knowing your tools and what they can do, but more importantly, it's having a vision of what you want to create. And 9 times out of 10, and I talk to people who are clients and I consult, and they get hung up on the tech, right? The camera and lights and editing and all this stuff. And I say, well, just hold on for a second. What is it you're trying to create first? And then work backward from there. And a lot of times you'll find out that you don't need as much as you think you do. If you're making a YouTube video, talking head with some B-roll, iMovie is more than capable. If you want to add in some animations, some graphics, maybe you want to bring in a slideshow and do some stuff, well, then now you're looking at Keynote. But still, it's an easy integration with Keynote and iMovie, and they're both there. Okay, one more before I jump into the content. I've been sick, but back here, in greetings from Phoenix, Arizona. Oh, I hope you're feeling better. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. To see you all here. Yes. Oh, sorry. I'm jumping into the conversation between people in the chat. Enjoying editing while listening from his warm and very calm voice. Well, I'm glad. Yes, a calm voice. Good morning, Ian. Thanks for being here. My son and I have learned a lot from your videos and have been applying your lessons to our videos. Very thankful. Great. Thank you very much. I actually had a great comment last week, I guess from a student who had just got, I think, a MacBook Pro and was starting school. And I guess they got an assignment from their teacher, a video assignment, I assume. and they kind of just were told to jump in and make the project. And the person commented, they didn't give us any instruction. I just had to jump in and start making it. And I found your videos, and you helped me immensely to complete my project. Excellent. I'm glad. I am glad. Okay, let us jump in to the topic at hand as I make sure everything's set up here. So yes, as I said, I'm going to show you how to bring your iMovie projects into GarageBand, which is the free digital audio workstation that comes bundled with every Mac, at least at the time of this video. So you can create more professional sounding audio. So we're going to start off here. I'm going to just go over here to iMovie because I have it open. And so here we are in iMovie. And no, that isn't the same shirt, though it looks like the same shirt that I'm wearing, but it's not. So I have this clip in iMovie. Just play it here, because I believe that the majority of people creating video content for YouTube or any other social media platform aren't necessarily interested in becoming video professionals. Ain't that the truth? So I have this clip, and it's okay. It sounds okay. It sounds fine. But we can enhance it and do some things with it in GarageBand. Now, again, you can use tools here in iMovie, but I'm going to show you how to do it with GarageBand. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to export this iMovie project as a video. And you know how to do that, I'm sure. You just go up to the top here to the, I got this funky new mouse here that has a magnifying glass on it, to the share button here. And you click that, export file. This is not subscribe button. We'll call this GarageBand demo. Make sure that video and audio are selected because we're going to be working on the audio in GarageBand. 1080p, high, better quality. Then you hit next. And then we'll just put it to the desktop here. I think I already did it already. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I already exported it, but I'll just replace it. And then that exports. So once we've done that, I'm just going to minimize iMovie here. And we're going to go and open up GarageBand. So we're going to use Spotlight search for that. So we're going to do Command spacebar, and we'll start typing in GarageBand. And it should be like, as soon as I hit G, there it is. And we will open it up. And here I have a project I've been working on because I use GarageBand to do other stuff. So I'm just going to close this out here, and we'll start new. So when you open GarageBand, if you haven't been working on a project like I have been, you'll get this screen here to choose a project. Usually it would be new project. So you can choose recent projects, a whole bunch of stuff I worked on, or a new project. So we're going to start with new project. And we'll select choose. And then we're into the GarageBand interface. Now, you get this dialog here to create a new track. So we've got MIDI, which is software instruments. That's for music. Drummer, that's music. What we're interested in is this one here, mic or line audio. Record using a microphone or line input or drag and drop audio files, which is essentially what we're going to be doing. So we have that selected, and I'm going to click. I'm not going to worry about any of these other things right now. I'm just going to hit create. And here we are in the default GarageBand interface. Looks different, huh? Looks different, but it's very, very simple. So I'll just walk through. Now, this is not going to be like a top to tail tutorial on how to use GarageBand because I don't want to keep you here for 5 hours. It wouldn't take you that long. But I just want to go through the parts that are actually relevant for using it for video production. So let's go through the interface real quick. And when you start, you have this interface. And you can see up here this LED readout. Now this is for music. You can see it's 1.1 beats, tempo 120. This is for music. So what I usually do, and if you're using it for video, the first thing you're going to do here is this little arrow beside. You're going to click on that. And from beats and projects, that's what it's set to now. I'm going to set it to time. So now we're in the familiar time code of video world. Over here we've got metronome and other things. I'm going to turn these off because these will make a clicking sound because they're for keeping time if you're creating music. You want to turn those off for doing video work. And that's pretty much it. Here, just walking through the interface, we have, these are the tracks. This is the track area. So you can see right now I have one default audio track right here, audio 1. Up here is actually a sound meter. This will be more relevant once we get a clip in here, and you'll see that. Down here we have the plugins area. So this is where we're really interested in how, when we go to enhance and correct our audio. This is the area we're going to be using down here with the track and the plugins and the controls down here. And you can see there's some basic controls already here in GarageBand when you open it up. And then up here, just for navigation's sake, way up here in the corner, this thing right here, this is for zooming in and zooming out of this track area. So you just click on that. You can zoom out, zoom in, and zoom out. There's also a keyboard shortcut. I believe it is it Command? I think it's Control. Control plus? Hold on, let me just check my notes. I don't want to get this wrong. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's Control plus. Let's see. Nope, that's not it. Command plus? Nope. I don't have the keyboard shortcut handy right now. I had it written down. So hold on for a second here. Just check my notes. Oh, I'm sorry. It's Command right arrow. Of course, it's just like it's not working very well because I have this mouse on here. This I'm going to just turn it off real quick. There we go. Too many buttons conflicting. So you can see I'm zooming in. I'm using Command left arrow, Command right arrow to zoom into the track. Okay. That's just the basics of the interface. So how do you actually get a video? How do we bring our video into GarageBand? This is an audio program, right? Well, there are actually 3 ways you can bring in your video into GarageBand. And I'll show you the 3 ways. The first way, excuse me, is to go up to the top menu here. And I'm just going to turn my mouse back on so you can see. And go up to where it says Track and select that. And down here you can see Show Movie Track. So if I select that, you can see a movie track appeared. You can see it right here. There's a little track at the top. And then if I click on those arrows, I can now open a movie. So I go Open, and then the Finder comes up, and I go to the desktop, and I find my video, and hit Open, and boom. My video is now in GarageBand on a great flattering frame of my face. So here it is in GarageBand. So you get this video window, and up here, if you can see, zoom in a bit here, is a film strip of your video. So these frames up here represent your video, and this audio track here is the audio from your video. So if I hit the space bar, I can play and we can listen. Because I believe that the majority of people creating video content for YouTube or any other social media platform aren't necessarily interested in becoming video professionals. So there, our video is now in GarageBand, and I'll show you another way to bring in a video. So I'll just show you, I won't go through the whole thing. But another way to bring in a video is just to drag and drop it. So if I got it from the Finder, I would just pick it up and drag it into the interface, and it would automatically come up. And there's another way that I don't really use, and you can do this, is you can actually, sorry, just a second. Right, yes, go up to, actually, you know what? I'm not going to show you the third way because it's cumbersome and it's not really necessary. I would just drag and drop it in, or I would just use the track method. Now we're in GarageBand. All right, let me just come back and make sure everyone got that. That was kind of all over the place. I apologize. A little out of practice. Just going back to the comments here. Oh, hello from Buffalo. Brian's Model Trains. Thanks for coming back. Yes. If you're finding value in the stream, please give it a like to help push it out to the algorithm. So that is how you bring in your movie into GarageBand. It's pretty simple. And actually this feature is actually very impressive for me because this kind of functionality is kind of what we used to do back in broadcasting. When we edited a video, rarely would the audio be done in editing and then we'd air it. Most cases we go to audio post-production. And so as part of audio post-production, you would bring your video into a big audio suite that was pretty much like this. It would have a digital audio workstation similar to GarageBand. And you would bring in the video. Back then it was tape, so it was a little more complicated. But it's the same method. And then from here, once we're in here, we can do all kinds of stuff. So let me just show you real quick. You can resize this window if it's in your way. You can shrink it down. Usually you want to move it somewhere. You want to have it there for reference, but you can just adjust it. And if for some reason you close this window and you're like, oh no, I lost it. How do I get it back? There's a little thumbnail right up here in the track, the movie track. You click on that, it brings back your video. So if you ever get in that situation, that's how you get out of it. All right, so now that we're here in GarageBand, what is it, Mike, that we can do? All kinds of things now. This has opened up a world of possibilities for your audio production. So obviously we can create music here because this is GarageBand. So what you can do is, you can go in and look at all the loops here in GarageBand, and you can create music or score your video. I'm not going to be getting into that in this video, but just showing you the possibilities. You can score your video, you can add music, you can create, and these are royalty-free loops from Apple, so you're not going to run into any copyright issues. I mean, theoretically, using these loops to create music for your video projects. So there's that. That's a big thing. The other thing you can do, and this is sort of what I did back in broadcasting, is you have all these tracks here. You can really build up a sophisticated sound mix because you can have multiple tracks of music, sound effects, all kinds of things. You can get 10 tracks. I mean, when I worked, we had sometimes, we would average 10 tracks of audio just from having different pieces of music coming in, overlapping, and having different sound effects and stuff like that. I'll probably do a video on that at some point, how to create a sophisticated sort of sound mix using GarageBand. But that's something else you can do here in GarageBand. But you can do stuff that's real simple, like fixing audio, enhancing audio. So I'm going to take you through that because that's probably something you're going to most likely use GarageBand for if the tools in iMovie aren't good enough for fixing your audio. So what can we do? So we have our, one thing I want to say though about this track up here, if I just show you here, zoom in, you can see there's a lock icon right there, and then there's these double rings. So the double rings means this is a stereo track. The lock means this audio is locked to the picture. So it's locked to the picture in your video. Now, you can still edit this audio. So for example, I'm just going to zoom in a bit here. I'm going to use the controls because I don't want to conflict with my mouse. So for example, say I want to cut out a pause here or something like that. So I'll take the playhead, place it there, and then right click and select split at playhead, and that cuts the track. And then if I want to go, I would just go over here, and again, split at playhead, and then I would select this part that I just clipped out, and I can cut it. So I removed that part, but the video is still in sync. The majority of people creating video content, and even if I tried to move this, see that? It just goes right back. It says, no, sir, you can't move that. We are in sync with the video. So you can do some basic editing here in this top track, and that's about it, which is fine. You can just sort of cut out dead air if you want to. But the real magic here in GarageBand is in the effects and the plugins and the different filters to help enhance your audio. So before we jump into that, I'm just going to come back out and make sure everyone is sort of following that so far. Let me know in the chat if this is making sense, if I've gone too fast, are you confused about anything? Like I said, I'm a little out of practice, so I'm all over the place. But let me know in the chat if this is making sense. And then once I know we're good, I will continue on, and we can get into the fun stuff of playing with the plugins and stuff like that, which is really the exciting part and the power of GarageBand. So let me know in the chat if this is making sense and you're following what's happening. And if you're cool, then I will move on. So I'll just wait for a few moments here to wait for folks to let me know. Let me know in the chat. I know you're probably all editing. Are you all editing right now? Someone mentioned they were editing and listening to me, which is great. One thing I want to ask before we jump into more stuff here, and it's a question I always like asking, is I'm always interested to know what you're working on, what kind of stuff, what kind of projects you're working on. Because I know people say my content is helpful, which is great. But I'm always curious to know what is it helpful for. I'm just always curious to know what folks are making out there. Brian's Model Train says, all is good so far. Yeah. All is good so far. Great tutorial. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad it's useful. All good. Doing these things live, there's pluses and minuses. Now, for folks who've come in late, there's going to be the replay, obviously, of the video. But I'm also going to cut down the replay of this live stream into sort of more focused, just the facts, ma'am, kind of video on how to bring your iMovie projects into GarageBand. So, I appreciate the advice you've given so far. It's cool to learn more information how to create better videos. Thank you. Great info. This is something I've been very interested in because I use clips from multiple cameras and mics in outdoor situations. Yeah. Yeah, you can do some cleanup here in GarageBand. Brian makes model train videos. Excellent. That's very cool. I'm curious, what are you using to record your videos? Which camera are you using? The Dre Max Show. I'm a YouTuber with a little over 3,600 subs and want to have better edited videos. Cool. Actually, I have some plans on my, where's my idea board? Way up there. To do some tutorials on actual editing in iMovie. So kind of like sit over my shoulder as I edit something in iMovie. If that's something that you'd be interested in, let me know. Because editing is one of those things. I know I learned editing from sitting in a room with an editor for many, many years when I worked in television. And I would direct the edit. So I would tell the editor what shots to use and when to make the cuts and stuff like that. But I learned so much sitting there watching someone edit. And for me, that's really the best way to learn how to edit. Oh, my con is comic book related movies, shows, and books. Oh, that sounds fun. Entertainment channel. Oh, iPhone 13. Yeah, I have an iPhone 13 too. It's great. It's great. Thanks for your other video editing videos. I use Panasonic and iPhone. Cool. All right. Let me jump back in to show you the good stuff. All right, so here we are back in GarageBand. So I want to direct your attention to this area down at the bottom because this is the control area. This is where we can really enhance and change our audio. So first thing I want to say, though, in order to make this work, whenever you're going to do any kind of work in GarageBand, if you're going to apply effects or anything like that, you want to make sure that your track is selected. So you can see up here, this is my track. And I know it's selected because it's light gray. So now audio 1 is selected. So whatever I select, now the things that I'm going to do are going to affect that track. So you have to make sure your track is selected. All right, so now that my track is selected, I'm going to go down here. And let's look over here first at this big blue area here because it's kind of obvious. So GarageBand, when you open it, it opens two of probably the most common types of audio processing that you're going to use, particularly for voices. And that is a compressor down here, excuse me, and EQ. All right, so what do these do? So a compressor, if you don't know, basically what it does is it evens out the audio levels in your audio. So it takes the loudest sounds, brings them down, and it brings the quietest sounds and brings them up and kind of compresses what's called the dynamic range of the audio. And the reason why would you do that? Because for certain environments, say a theater or theatrical release versus a television, I'm sure you've experienced this in the age of streaming, having to constantly turn up the volume if you're watching like Netflix or whatever streaming services. Because a lot of times they are mixing their audio, they're making a lot of it, the content's film-like, right? So a lot of times they're creating like a filmic mix. And with films, because you're in a theater with a superior sound system, you can have great dynamic range because of the sound system. So you can hear the quietest things and the loudest things. But when you're on like if you have a TV speakers or a sound bar, doesn't have that fidelity, doesn't have that dynamic range, you're kind of, I don't know about you, maybe it's just me getting older, but cranking up the volume in order to hear everything, particularly when people start talking. And then, of course, the music kicks in and it's too loud and you're lowering the volume. So what compression does is it compresses the dynamic range. So for me, when I worked in television and we would make our shows, our audio engineer would compress the audio for a TV speaker. In fact, when we did our final mix in the studio, we would, create the mix using all the beautiful big speakers in the sound system. But when it came down to the final mix, for the people, we had a television and we put it through the speaker on the television because that's how people are going to experience it. And in order to hear everything, we had to, you had to use compression so that everyone could hear everything through that speaker. So anyway, that's the long story of compression and what it's for. EQ, equalization, essentially what it does is it boosts or reduces, boost or reduces anyway, certain frequencies in a sound file. So, the highs, you can see here on the equalizer, if you look at it, we have low, mid, high, and those are the different frequency ranges in a sound file. And what a equalizer does is it boosts or reduces them. That's my terrible explanation of equalization. And I'm sure audio engineers in the audience are like face palming right now, but that's the essentials of how it works. So let's apply these to our file. And so it's very simple because they're already engaged here. And you can see the power button is on here. And if I want to use the compressor, I just flip the little switch here. And now it's on. So how do you use these things? Okay, well, let me just show you. I'm going to play the file here. And the first thing I'm going to do is add the compressor. So I'm just going to grab the dial. And you just click on it, and you can see it's kind of tricky. You got to sort of up and down it there to move it. And essentially what you want to do is you want to play your file. Because I believe that the majority of people creating video content and dial in just when you start seeing those dots. Social media platform aren't necessarily interested in becoming video professionals. So you can already hear, I don't know if you can hear the difference. We'll do it with it off. It's very subtle. Here's without the compressor. Because I believe that the majority of people creating video content for YouTube or any other social media platform with compressor aren't necessarily interested in becoming video professionals. It's very subtle because I didn't dial it in a lot. Because if you can really compress it and then it starts sounding too compressed and unnatural. Just a little bit. You could hear, I hope you could hear, there's a little more presence in the audio. I'll play it one more time. Because I believe that the majority of people creating video content for YouTube or any other social media platform aren't necessarily interested in becoming video professionals. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? I know it's very subtle, but that's a compressor. Just gives more presence to it so you can hear more of what's being said, particularly with vocals or when you're speaking with dialogue. All right, so that's the compressor. So what does the EQ do? So what I can do now is I can enhance or boost certain frequencies. So say I want to add a little more low end to my file here. I'll just dial in a little bit more of low here because I believe that the majority of people creating video content for YouTube or any other social media platform, a little more bass, aren't necessarily interested in becoming video professionals. Ooh, that's a little too bassy, but you can see that's what that does. We'll return that to there, and then the mids is the same thing. Though the mids is can be because I believe that the majority of people creating video content for YouTube or any other social media platform aren't necessarily interested in becoming video professional. You would rarely use the mid. It's that hollow sound that is not very attractive, so I don't usually touch that. But the highs is one that's probably useful particularly for people who have deeper voices like me. The high is good to sort of give out some clarity. So if I do that. Because I believe that the majority of people creating video content for YouTube or any other social media platform aren't necessarily interested in becoming video professionals. So just gives a little more clarity. I was bringing up the higher frequencies. So clarity cuts through noise more, especially if you have music, if you're mixing with music. A lot of times the voices will kind of get lost and you want to give them a little more clarity and a little more presence, a little more articulation. You're going to be doing that with the highs. I'm going to put these back to their defaults. So that's the essentials of those those tools, and probably the tools you're most likely going to use, mostly if you're trying to enhance your audio or your dialogue tracks. Now over here, we've got things like ambience and reverb. You know, reverb is like echo, so you can add some. I believe that the majority of people creating video content for YouTube or any other
if you want to sound like you're in a big empty room,
aren't necessarily interested in becoming video professionals. So you can give a little bit of echo. Usually you would use that for singing vocals, for singing, just to give it a nicer sound. But for dialogue, you typically don't use that. It's the same for ambience, the same kind of thing. Now, the great thing here, though, about these plugins is that you don't have to, if you're like, well, I don't know what to pick, how do I dial this in? What do I do? If we come over to this area down here where it says plugins, we can see, if we just scroll up, this is the plugins area. So you can see here, compressor, channel EQ. Those are these. They match these controls over here. So I can turn it off. You can see the off button goes off there. But the really cool thing is that if I select this controls area right here, all of a sudden now I have this control panel where I can really get precise with my compressor. So I can really dial in things. If you know how compressors work, I'm not going to go into all the details here, but you can dial in all these different settings manually to really fine-tune the compressor. And better than that, up here in this bar, if we select custom, we have presets. So if I go down to voice, look at all these presets. These are presets for the compressor. So if you're saying, hey, I would like my dialogue narration, let me select that. Boom. Preset happens. Let's see what that sounds like, or rather hear what that sounds like. I believe that the majority of people creating video content for YouTube or that's the on button, just to let you know, just to make sure it's on. I believe that the majority of people creating video content for YouTube or any other social media platform aren't necessarily interested in becoming video professionals. So that is a preset for narration in the compressor, so you don't have to worry about messing with the dials. You can actually just pick presets. There's all kinds of presets in here for voice. You can see there's for different instruments too, because GarageBand is primarily for making music, but all these different presets, natural, vocal, other things down here, vocal smooth, but narration vocal is probably the one most of us would use. Now, so we have presets for the compressor, but we also have presets, you guessed it, for the channel EQ. Now this, I know this looks kind of scary. This is the EQ interface. Do not be alarmed. Do not be alarmed. Because I believe that if we engage this now, we can go into this custom. Now you can manually hear, if you're really into audio, you'll know what to do. You can manually set your equalizer to raise or lower a certain frequency. All these are different frequency ranges here. And if you've ever seen, an equalization graph, you'll notice it's like a curve. It goes up, it goes down, depending on what you're trying to, depending on the voice and the sound you're trying to achieve. But you don't have to do that. If we select custom, again, we have voice presets. So we have bright vocal. I think we have a narration one as well. Compressed vocal. Natural vocal. Vocal presence. That's one, sometimes we need, particularly if you have a deeper voice or a microphone that's got a lot of low frequency sound to it. I'm trying to see here. I thought there was a female, male lead vocal. This is more for singing. Pop vocal. Speaking voice improve. That's another one. that you can use to enhance vocal presence, warm vocal. So you have all these presets you can choose from. So you don't have to, if you don't want to, have to, mess around with these dials. Now, the other great thing about GarageBand is these are all built-in plugins in GarageBand. But let me go back down here. You can see this area right here. It's so small, I know. But I can add another plugin here. If I click on these little arrows. So here is everything that's built in to, you got fun stuff like the pitch shifter, which you can change the pitch of your voice and stuff like that. But you have all these built-in plugins that are primarily for music production. But you can use some of these for doing voice stuff. But here's the great part. Over here, audio units down here, these are third-party. You have Apple plugins. Look at all these plugins in here. It's crazy. That's what comes with Apple. But then there are third-party called VSTs or audio unit plugins that you can get online for free or you can buy that you can use as well. So you can bring in like high-end plugins, different plugins that can do different effects, and bring them into GarageBand and use them on your tracks, which is very cool. I'm just curious, just to have some fun. This is the pitch shifter. Let's play around with this
Because I believe that
you can hear my
the majority of people creating video content for YouTube.
You can hear the chipmunk there. I guess I was messing with this before, but you can dial in, different. You can go down how many semitones up and down if you want to go deeper. The mix is 25%. Let me go 100%. That's basically mixing how much of the effect with your natural voice. Oh boy, here we go.
People creating video content for YouTube or any other social media platform aren't necessarily interested in becoming video professionals.
That's pretty much what I sound like when I wake up in the morning. But you can play around with all kinds of different things. Another one, though, I want to show you, which is probably useful, particularly if you have issues with noise in your tracks, echo or other things like that, is something called the noise gate. I'm just going to get rid of this pitch shifter. And I'm going to go in here and noise gate. So the noise gate here, basically what you're doing is going to reduce background noise at a certain threshold. And you kind of have to play with this in terms of when you want the noise to, when the noise kicks in. You want to do this so that it's just getting rid of the noise or you're going to start eating into your actual dialogue. And so this threshold is when the noise gate kicks in. So let's just see. There's not a lot of noise in my track here.
Because I believe that the majority of people,
so you can see,
or YouTube or any other social media platform, aren't necessarily interested in becoming video professionals.
So minus 34 is probably where I want to be. That's pretty aggressive. But that's with a noise gate. So you would dial that in until you're not hearing the noise as much. And that goes for incredible, if you have a lot of reverb and echo, you can use the noise gate as well to try and fix that. So yeah, those are essentially the plugins or the effects that I use in GarageBand when I'm correcting my dialogue. Compressor, equalizer, and noise gate if needed. And if you want to do an effect, you can do stuff with pitch and things like that. There's all kinds of other effects that you can do if you want to make your voice sound like a robot or any other stuff. It's all there. There's a lot built into GarageBand. And again, you can add in third-party plugins as well. So that is in terms of enhancing and correcting audio in GarageBand. So let me know if you have any questions about that stuff. There's a lot there. But when it comes to audio with plugins and effects, so much of it is just experimenting. I can't tell you what the exact, parameters are you should dial into these things because it's dependent on your situation and the effect you're trying to achieve. But a lot of it you just learn by playing and experimenting. Let's see. Let's go back to the chat. Never thought of fixing my voice. Smiling until now. I mean, audio is one of those things that is very subjective to a certain point. And a lot of times it's easy to go overboard with audio and you just, you get too much into it and you just mess everything up. I've done that and you got to start over again. A little goes a long way with audio, but just those little tweaks I showed you with the compressor and equalizer, it's hard to perceive, but a lot of people go, why does that sound better? Why is that? I can hear the dialogue better. Those little tweaks are what happens. So when you watch a production, Netflix or whatever, again, listen. Of course, again, the compressing, the dynamic range is an issue. But they tune and they equalize the voices so that you can hear things. And a lot of times that's just what we're trying to do. We're just trying to make things more clear, not really trying to make a big effect unless that's what you're trying to do in your production. But you just want to try and make things more clear, more distinct, so the information is easier to absorb. I make short YouTube videos to help bring info in my educational books, research, etc. to life for students and tutors. Excellent. Thanks for your great tutorials. Thank you. That's how I spent my career. The first dozen years of my career was spent in educational broadcasting, which is a different animal in terms of making content. And a lot of it was in the edutainment area. So you had to make the content clear and accessible while at the same time keeping the viewers engaged. In our case, I did a lot of work for middle schoolers and teens, that kind of content. So you had the challenge of, keeping their attention, keeping them engaged while still delivering the content, which is a bit challenging. Wow, I'm learning something new. Yikes, editing my latest video now. Uh-oh. Don't stop. Don't go back and start again just because I showed you this stuff. Yeah, save it for the next one. I'm glad you're learning something new, though. These effects will be perfect for my Halloween videos. Yeah, exactly. You can really go to town with the pitch shift. And again, there's other things you can play around with. I think there's a vocoder plug-in in there that makes your voice sound like kind of like a robot. Kind of has that Daft Punk type sound. Do you also bring in music to GarageBand so you can adjust the VO against the music? Yeah, exactly. So when I was talking about creating a sound mix in GarageBand, and very much how I operated in broadcasting is we would edit the video, and the editor would not really touch the audio tracks. He would just edit them. He or she would just edit them together, make sure the levels were good. And then we would bring that into audio mix, and then we would add in music, music tracks from the music library, which you can do here in GarageBand. You don't have to create music in GarageBand. You can just, if you have an Epidemic Sound account, which I do, you can just bring in your stock music into GarageBand. And then you can bring in your sound effects. And then when you're doing your sound mix, you're balancing your dialogue. Just go back here real quick. You're balancing your dialogue here with music and the sound effects. And that's the whole magic of sound mixing, is blending all those elements together and having the different elements become prominent at just the right time. That's the real key to a great sound mix. I really enjoyed sound mixing when I was in broadcasting. It's a lot of fun. You can really change the character of a video with the sound mix. So yes, you would do that. Dave's Vintage Apple Tech. Hey, welcome. Welcome back. I remember you, Dave. I remember you. Okay, let's jump in. Now that let's jump back in here. Great, Mike. We've done all this great stuff. We've enhanced our audio. Love it. So how do I get the video out of GarageBand? Like, how do I get it into my video so that I can upload it, right? Well, there's two ways, essentially, to export your project with your video and your new audio out of GarageBand. So I'll show you the two ways. One way is to actually export the video with the audio, and GarageBand allows you to do that, actually. So let's say I'm done and I'm happy with what I've done here.
I believe that the majority of people creating video content...
Cool, like I got a little bit of presence, is great. Now I want to get this, say I want to upload this to YouTube, for example. So what I would do then is I would go up to File, let me zoom in here, up to File, and go down to Movie, Export Audio to Movie. And then you get your familiar export dialog. But we have an extra setting here, preset. It gives you some presets for exporting. SD 480p. Well, my video is a 1080p, so I don't want that. So I can go into this menu, and you can see I have all these choices. I can do SD 480p, I can do HD 720p, 1080p, iPhone, iPad. Most cases, you're going to want to pick full quality, because that is going to export your video in its full quality that it came into GarageBand with, for the most part. So once you do that, you can save it. I'll save it to the desktop. And let me just give this, I'm going to say mixed, so I can tell what it is. And so now GarageBand exported the video with the new audio track. So let me just go over to the desktop here, and I'm just gonna open this up. Ooh, it's big in iMovie. Bring it on over. Let me bring this window down a bit because it's a little too big. And I'll move this one over so we don't see it. So this is the exported video that GarageBand exported.
Because I believe that the majority of people creating video content for YouTube or any other social media platform aren't necessarily interested in becoming video professionals.
All right, so there you go. That is the exported video. So now you can take that video and you could upload it or do whatever you want to. Now you say, well, okay, that's great, Mike, but what if I want to actually bring the video, just the audio, back into iMovie because I want to do some more editing, I wanted to, do some more stuff there and then export. Well, you can do that too. You can export just the processed audio, but this time in the menu, instead of going to File, we're going to go to Share. Export song to disk. You can see that there. And so now we get some different settings here. So this is just going to export the audio. So I'm just going to say audio track to the desktop. Now down here, under quality, we have some settings here. Typically, if you're going to go back into editing, you want to have the highest quality as possible. So in that case, I would either choose AIFF, which is an Apple-specific uncompressed audio format, or WAVE, which is a more common uncompressed audio format that's compatible with Mac and Windows. So I'm just going to pick, excuse me, I'm going to pick AIFF since we're on the Mac, and I'm going to pick the best quality, which is uncompressed 24-bit. Export cycle area. We don't have any cycle areas. Cycle areas are basically if you're looping stuff, if you want to loop stuff in the timeline, you create a cycle area. We don't have that here. So I'll select export. And now GarageBand is exported just the audio track. Just the audio track. So now, if we go back to iMovie, and I'm just going to close this little window here. Oops. Here, let me minimize GarageBand. So here we are back in iMovie. And so what I'm doing is going to find that audio track, which is right here, GarageBand demo audio track. And I'm just going to drag it. Oops. I'm going to drag it into the, let me keep things neat. I'll just drag it into the event. And of course, now I have to find
People creating video.
There it is. That's the one thing I wish iMovie had was labels in the event, so you can tell what's what. Anyway, this is my newly imported track, and what I can do now is just drag it. So now it's here. Now I don't want double audio because now we have two audio tracks, right? We have the original. Let me just move this up a bit so you can see. We have the original that's on the video track, and then we have the new one. So I don't want that. That's going to be too much. So I will select my original clip, and I'll go up into the audio volume settings, and I will mute it by clicking the speaker. And so now,
Because I believe that the majority of people creating video content for YouTube or any other social media platform aren't necessarily interested in becoming video professionals.
and that's it. That's how you bring it back in and use it in iMovie, and then you can continue editing, or you could export from here if you wanted to. Yeah. So that is the round trip process using iMovie to GarageBand. There you have it. It's a good little system, particularly if you're doing. Now, I don't do this for every video because, for the most part, I try as hard as possible to record great audio at the source when I'm recording. If I need to do some fixing, I will use some of the tools in iMovie. Again, check out the video, my last video, where I go through all the different tools. But if I'm doing something where I have the audio is really bad, or I can't fix it in iMovie, I'll bring it into GarageBand to try and fix it there. And also, if I'm doing a really elaborate sound mix, iMovie has multiple tracks of audio as well. But as you get more and more tracks, it starts getting a little confusing what's going on. It gets a little crazy. It gets a little hectic. So if I'm doing something that's really involved and I want to actually do processing on the audio as well, I'll bring it into GarageBand and just do it there because it's just better suited to that task. So there you have it. That's how you can expand the quality of the audio in your iMovie projects to really take them to a professional level. Even though GarageBand's free, it's kind of a bit of a stripped down version of its larger sibling Logic, which is a pro level audio workstation where you can do like it's like pro. But GarageBand, it can do a lot. It can do a lot. It can do a lot of things. And I didn't even touch again on creating music, which is really fun actually, and creating loops. And it doesn't have to be you're not creating necessarily a symphonic piece, but even just little, drones and little sort of accent pieces in terms of if you're trying to create suspense or something like that. You can do that in GarageBand, just adding a few loops here and there. And it's free. It comes with the Mac. So the workflow, again, is pretty straightforward, back and forth. And like I said, it just opens up a whole new world of audio enhancement and sound design for your iMovie projects. So, there you have it. If you have any questions about what I've done so far, let me know. It's a great little workflow. Again, another little tool that people overlook and say, oh, that's for making music and for, if I had a band in a garage. But no, it's a digital audio workstation that you can use to get professional quality results for your videos. Let's see. Wow, did not know you could. That's very neat. Yes, it is very neat. Again, and the thing is people ask me, a lot of times, and I get approached a lot of times to do tutorials and other things on other programs like Final Cut Pro and Motion and DaVinci Resolve and Logic and stuff like that. And those are great tools. But my channel, and for me personally, having been a video creator for going on 3 decades, more than 3 decades actually, I've had to be resourceful a lot of times in my career. So when I approach video production, I'm always trying to find the simplest, most cost-effective way of doing things that still doesn't sacrifice quality of the product, right? Because at the end of the day, it's about the quality of the product. That's what you're judged on. So when I look at tools, I have that mindset. I look at them and say, okay, can I do this, 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 and this? These are the things I typically would do in a project. Can I do that with these tools? And remarkably, when I looked at iMovie, Keynote, GarageBand, QuickTime Player, I was like, yeah, I can. I actually can do this. And that is the thrust of this channel. Not to say I wouldn't expand into doing more, covering the other pro apps. I mean, I'm not averse to that if people are interested in that. But I don't know. You let me know if you're interested in that kind of thing. But for the most part, I'm trying to show you how to make good stuff with what you have already that's there, that's just sitting there. And it just seems a shame to me when you have these tools that are sitting there that, you're not using them because they're very, very capable, particularly if you're making content or video for online, for YouTube, Facebook, wherever. You're not making it for, broadcast. That's a whole other ball game. But for the platforms that people typically, for the most part, upload their content to, these tools are more than adequate. Yes, they don't have all the features that you find in other tools, but I guess the question is, do you need that stuff? And if you do, then, definitely step into the other tools or use a combination of both. You don't have to be, I just use iMovie or I just use Keynote. You can go from, iMovie into Final Cut Pro. I know people who do their rough cuts of their videos in iMovie because it's just a simpler interface. It's out of your way. They can think about the content and the timing. And then when they have to do more with it, they bring it into to Final Cut Pro and do that. In back in the day in broadcasting, we called that offline editing and online editing. So offline editing is with a sort of a pared down tool feature set, and it's all about just getting the story right and getting that all together. And then from offline, we go to online, which is a more expensive edit suite where we add all the bells and whistles and effects and transitions and stuff. So it's the same, people use that same sort of workflow. Anyway, I'm going on and on. On and on and on. What type of dance were the students performing for the film project you mentioned? They all kinds of dances. Dance school does ballet. It's known for ballet, jazz, tap, lyrical, contemporary, hip hop, and they have a graduation every year, and so they have a recital, big performance of all the kids, all the different numbers they put on. And then at the end of the recital, they have a presentation for the graduates. And typically it's like just a very basic slideshow. And since my daughter was graduating this year, I kind of inserted myself and said, you know what? Hey, how would you like me to do the ending slideshow video this year? So I did that, and so I brought my TV experience to the mix, and my wife said, "Yeah, you kind of went overboard." Yeah, I did, but people enjoyed it. They really enjoyed it, and I had a lot of fun putting it together. And at the end of the day, again, the tools. Is the tool I was using. It was simple because Ken Burns zooms, a lot of those on photos. iMovie is so great for that. To a soundtrack, right? It was about creating the emotion of the video, and it created some great emotions. People said they were crying, they were laughing. But at the end of the day, that's what it's about, right? It's not okay, well, I should do this in Final Cut Pro or something. It's like, what am I trying to achieve? And can I achieve it with this tool? Yes, I can. Okay, well, let's do it, right? Thank you, Michael. Very informative video. Thank you for being here. I know it's kind of, again, it's a little scattered. It's been a while since I've been in the chair doing this kind of stuff. Michael, superb as usual. The tools in iMovie are excellent when I compare it and the iPhone to what existed back in the day. Yes, and the iPhone too. It's crazy what you can do with it. I mean, 4K. And bring it into iMovie. I'm thinking of doing actually a tutorial for, I don't know how many people use iPhones for recording their videos, but I'm thinking of doing a tutorial on bringing iPhone footage into iMovie and different things you can do in iMovie, particularly if you're using, I think is it the iPhone 12 and up, has the cinema setting where you can actually record, it gives you like depth of field and all kinds of stuff when you're out recording. But you bring it into editing, you can actually change focus and depth of field and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if anyone's interested in that. Let me know if you're interested in wanting to know how to manipulate your iPhone footage in iMovie, because it's a great pairing. It's a great pairing in terms of tools. Yes, it was cool. It was cool doing the video. Yeah, exactly. I've become that dad. The AV dad. Every group's got one, right? The AV dad. So we'll see. Again, I kind of a little self-indulgent with the video. In fact, I did a version and they loved it, but they said, it's a bit long. Can you cut that down? It's like, yeah, no, I know it's a bit long. Anyway, it was fine. But yeah, at least I didn't embarrass my kids. So that was the main goal. Yeah, come a long way since my Brownie Super 8. Oh yeah, Brownie Super 8. Yeah, I think my first camera was it was a second hand, third hand. It wasn't a Brownie Super 8. It was a video camera, but it was like I think, was it VHS? Anyway, it was a two-piece. You had the camera with an umbilical cord to the recorder that you slung over your shoulder, and then you had the camera. It was crazy. It was positively medieval. But that's what we had. That's what we had, and we made it work. Yes, love the cinematic on the iPhone. Yeah, it's a great feature. And I guess this is, yes, show me the iPhone stuff, Mike. Show me the iPhone. Absolutely for the iPhone. It's my primary acquisition tool, and the 15-inch camera is unreal. Yes. Yeah, I'm still on a 13. I'll probably wait for the 16. But yes, the camera is on the iPhone is pretty remarkable. And even the microphone on the iPhone is pretty remarkable for, being on device, like on camera. It's some crazy AI going on there. So now that I've done the content part, what I usually do is just open up for Q&A. So If you have any questions about, not just about what I talked about, but about video creation and production in general, I'll leave things open for a bit, and I'll answer your questions as best I can. As best I can. Let me just make sure this is all good. Okay. Yes, and of course, you probably wonder, Mike, where have you been? Where have you been? Yeah, I was working on some other things, and I was taking a bit of a break, kind of once again reevaluating sort of what I'm doing. Was also looking at some other opportunities that didn't quite pan out, but I'm back here now, and I'm going to let you know how things are kind of going to be working moving forward. I'm going to be doing a tutorial like this live every week, so a different one every week. And then we'll have the live so that you can, I like doing it this way so I can get your questions, and I just know, when you make a video and post it, you're kind of like, I guess it makes sense. And then you get a lot of questions after the fact. And a lot of times I'm having to remember, what did I do in that video? Let me go back and see. And there's such a distance between delivering the content and the questions. So I'm trying to make it so that doing these live, I can get the questions, and questions help me down the line for the next tutorial. Now, of course, as I said at the top, I'll be taking the live stream and cutting it down so that if you're just somebody who wants to know the goods, just spare me all the other stuff, Mike. Just give me the facts. That'll be there for you. But that's how I'm going to do things. I'm going to do things live and then cut it down. And we'll move forward that way. Another thing, too, a new thing coming, I'm going to be trying actually tomorrow, is I'm really trying to step into doing live streaming more and more, and for several reasons. One of them is I just enjoy being live. It's like having a conversation, and I came from theater and film, but I really enjoy theater. I love a live audience. I just enjoy it. I enjoy it, and I enjoy having a conversation. So I'm really stepping into the live stuff. And so on top of doing the tutorial once a week, I'm going to start going live more often I don't know what to call it. Do I call it a video podcast? I don't even know. What do you call it? A live stream? Anyway, call it what you want. I'm going to be going live more often. And I've branded this sort of more informal live stream. I call it off hours. It's Mac Video Magic off hours. So where I'm going to be talking about concepts or topics that are adjacent to what we do on the channel, just to broaden it out a bit more, because I know there's other things than, okay, how do I use iMovie and Keynote and stuff? And yes, that's important to learn that. But there's so many other things around content creation or being a video creator that I really want to sort of address and talk about in addition to this. So that sort of supplements the other content on the channel. And I hope to, talk about those different concepts, as well as, sort of tie things into what's happening now in the world of content creation, on particularly on this platform, YouTube, and other platforms as well. Because context is very important, and as things shift, for example, with AI, which is another reason why I'm going live more, because of AI, and I had this crazy moment last week. I was sitting down to make video and using my usual process where I usually kind of do an outline or a script. And then, I'm doing the video, and I'm playing back, and I thought to myself, I sound like an AI voice. I sound like AI because I'm so, as a professional television host, you're trained to present content in a certain way, and it's polished and all that stuff and all that training, which is very valuable. But in the world of AI, it's like I sound like an AI voice. In fact, I had somebody comment on one of my videos a few months ago saying, hey, isn't that Greg, the AI voice from such and such service? And I thought, oh my goodness, I sound like an AI. So I thought to myself, maybe I want to bring some more humanity into, not that I don't bring humanity into my content, but a little more sort of authenticity, less polish, a little more emotion to the content, which I think honestly is needed these days. So anyway, that's why, long story, I'm going live more often. So if you're around, and I don't have great expectations for off hours, honestly, it's just a very informal operation, just sitting around, not sitting around, but just talking about, well, I will be sitting, but just talking about different things that'll supplement sort of what you're learning on this channel. So I just wanted to let you know that, and I hope you stop by. It's going to be a regular thing. I'm going to be around, so if you're available, great. If not, it's fine. Again, it's a very informal. It's off hours, so that's the whole plan. Okay. After spilling my guts here, let me see what's in the chat. What is Wondershare versus iMovie? There's a whole bunch of sort of, I don't know, I'm gonna call them low tier. It's not like they're low tier, but there's sort of a whole family of software that is, sort of akin to iMovie for video editing. And it has a lot of features, and a lot of them have more features than iMovie. CapCut is one, Wondershare, all that stuff. And they all work fine. My only issue with some of these is sometimes in my experience, I've had problems with them crashing on my Mac. And sometimes actually there's so many features, it's almost overwhelming. It's like I don't need all of this stuff. And so when the tool becomes so cumbersome, like everybody wants features, everybody wants power, understand it. There's definitely that FOMO when it comes to tech. But if it's getting in the way of you doing what you need to do, it's kind of, that's not good, right? Because you're not being productive. And a lot of times the bells and the whistles get in the way of you actually having to focus on the actual content, the actual story, the actual information. And you get so caught up in this, it's like a space race when it comes to editing software. You can be chasing the latest, greatest forever and you never get the work done. So that's one thing. And the reason I like iMovie is because it was made for the Mac. It's kind of made by the people who made the machine. So I trust, maybe I shouldn't, but I trust that it's going to work fine, right? That's just me. It's the same with Final Cut Pro. It's optimized for the machine. So I feel more secure that I'm not going to have to worry about things going, not that they don't go awry, but sometimes they do, but they rarely do. And I can just worry about making the content. Just want to say thank you, Michael, for all your videos. They've really helped me get the best from iMovie. Keep them coming, please. Yes, I will. I've got a lot of ideas. I sat down while I was taking a break and reevaluating and refocusing for the channel. And I sat down and I came up with a whole bunch of topics around iMovie. Actually, I keep referring. I've got sort of like a chart. It's like a flow chart with iMovie in the middle and then all these arrows going out to all the different things and all the different sort of compatibilities and other softwares that you can use with iMovie and all the different things. And I started getting really excited. It's like, wow, this whole ecosystem is kind of exciting, and there's a lot that you can do. Speaking of which, starting tomorrow, when I talked about this off hours project, one of the things I want to get into in the channel here is I want to talk about live streaming. And I know a lot of you don't want, you're not into live streaming, but I've done several videos on OBS Studio for Mac. And yes, it's a live streaming software, but it's also recording software. It's a production software. You don't need to live stream with it. You can record with it, and there's lots you can do with it. And while my time off, I was playing a lot with it. And the off hours show, starting tomorrow, is on OBS. I'm using OBS. I'm committed to OBS Studio for the Mac because I think it's a powerful tool. It's free. It's open source, and I just feel like it's being ignored. I understand why a lot of people think it's complicated, but it really isn't that complicated. So I'm going to be talking more about that and bringing more. If you're interested in OBS Studio for Mac, let me know, because I'll bring more tutorials about that in, because it's just it's a phenomenal tool for screen recording. It's amazing. Just doing camera recording, it's amazing. And again, if you want to go live, it's amazing as well. So just putting that out there. Putting that out there. I like your live stream format. Oh, thank you. Thank you. And my long videos. Good. Good. iPhone video, iMovie would be great. Yes. Yes. So I will definitely, it's on my little chart. It's on my little chart. You like the title Off Hours? Yeah. I was coming up with it like, what am I trying to do here? And it's like, stop overthinking it, Mike. It's just off hours. What are you doing when you're not making tutorials? What kind of stuff are you thinking about? What and I thought, that's it. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. Just keep it simple. Keep it simple. Nice thing about doing live streams, it's a great way to meet people. Yes, it is. It is. And even though it's virtual, even when you back up and look at it and it's me sitting in a room by myself talking to a black box, objectively looking at it, and you're somewhere all over the world, which is amazing, looking at a screen, and we're interacting, it's still incredibly powerful. And I do, when it comes to sort of teaching and training, for me, the conversational element, I think, is very important in terms of delivering information. As I think a lot of times with tutorials in particular, it can be so cold and detached. And studies have shown, actually, in instructional design, that that's not a very efficient way to instruct people. That a very important part of learning is the emotional part, is the conversational part, is the human part, is that connection. And that's another thing I decided when I said I'm going to go live more, when I was thinking about it. Because I know for me personally, because I am first and foremost a viewer on YouTube, and I view a lot of content, and the content that I like tends to be more personal, less formal, more emotional, more conversational. So I'm trying to bring all that at the same time delivering the value that you expect from the information, right? It's a process. It's a process. Please send out notifications for all your upcoming events, perhaps a call-in podcast. Ooh, there's an interesting idea. Thank you, Kenneth. That's a good idea. I will send out notifications. And like I said, off hours is going to become, I'm hoping it becomes a regular thing so that people don't have to wait for notifications. They know, oh, it's whatever time Mike's online talking about something. So I'll swing by. Excellent. Learned a lot. Thank you. You're welcome. Yes, I am. OBS always gives me trouble. Okay. Yeah, it can. But once you figure it out, it's actually quite simple and very, very powerful. Very powerful. Yeah, OBS on the Mac. And now, let me just say this about OBS on the Mac. OBS on the Mac, OBS Studio on the Mac, when on an Intel machine, like the Intel Macs, before the M1 Macs, the Silicon Macs, on the Intel machines, was not a very good experience. Was not a good experience. Since the Silicon machines and OBS projects that develops OBS developed a native version for Apple Silicon M1, M2, M3, and so forth. It's been a game changer. It's like night and day. It's incredible. It's incredible. So there's that one caveat when it comes to OBS. Very interested. I use iPhone to capture footage for videos of my robots, sometimes green screen. Okay, green screen. Yes, I have actually a tutorial for green screen that's been sitting on my list for, goodness, for a year and a half. It's an advanced green screen. Like I did a green screen video last year, but this is going to be advanced. Like this is going to be advanced green screen compositing in iMovie, which is possible. I wouldn't be like, I wouldn't compare it to Lucasfilms or anything like that, but you can do some really cool stuff in iMovie using the green screen and combination of color correction and other things. I don't want to give it away, but I'll be doing that as well. Looking forward to seeing more of you and learning more. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm going to be around. I'm going to be around talking about things. I use Talk Studio. It has a lot of OBS built in. Yeah, because OBS is open source, right? So there's a few different products out there that use OBS as a base. They're just kind of a fork, and they use it and build on top of it, but the bones are still the same. Anybody else have any questions about things? Let me know, because I'm just looking at the time here, and what is it? 12:30, hour and a half. That's pretty good. I'll just leave it open for a few more questions. Like I said, I'll be around tomorrow. So if you have any questions then, you can drop by as well. So great to see all of you in the chat. I knew coming back, I thought, okay, well, I've been away for a while. Then maybe there'll be, a couple people showing up. And I was totally prepared for that. But to see all of you here today, after being away for so long, just warms my heart. I truly appreciate you taking the time to come out and spend your time. I know you have choices of all kinds of things you can be watching. And hanging out with me here, I truly appreciate it. I really do. All right, well, again, I'll be back tomorrow. Well, off hours will be back tomorrow. And next Thursday, we do another tutorial. I'll post a notification. Usually I do it at the beginning of the week, so on Monday, once I figure out what the topic is and get everything together, I'll put out a notification on Monday for what Thursday's tutorial stream is going to be. But tomorrow morning, most likely, I might be starting a little earlier than 11 tomorrow for off hours. Again, I'll put out a notification because I probably want to be on for a little longer for off hours. This is a little more laid back kind of thing. And so I'll put out a notification for that. You are one of the best teachers on YouTube. You have the gift. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's funny. I don't aim to teach, and I don't even consider myself a teacher. I know it's kind of weird, but I consider myself that person that is like a step or two ahead of where you want to be. And I'm kind of going through and figuring stuff out and finding stuff out and being frustrated just like you to find things and make them work and struggling through, like I mentioned OBS, right? I'm using OBS. There was a struggle getting to the point where I felt good about it. But then I turn around and help all of you come to this point, right? It's like, look at this. I figured this out. Oh, this is amazing. I got to share this. Other people are going to find this valuable. And so I turn around and I make a tutorial. And that's as simple as it is. And I guess I'm fortunate that my style resonates with people and they learn and they get value, and I'm so grateful for that. But honestly, that's my motivation. I'm a lifelong learner, and I get excited about learning new things, and I get so excited that I have to share it with people, and my wife is tired of me sharing it with her. So I come onto the internet and share it with all of you. And I share it with all of you. All right. With that, thank you once again for being here. And again, so many folks showing up. It's so great to see the familiar faces and the new faces too from all over the world. I really appreciate it. And so again, I'll put out notifications, and I hope to see you on the next stream.